Hi, and welcome to the search session. Today we are going to have a really great new guest, a really very famous, I think, in especially in the international SEO community. It's really well known and it's a really good guy. It's very friendly and he knows a lot about SEO. We are going to talk with Jerry White. Hello, Jerry. How are you doing?
Hey, yeah, good. Yeah. England's hot. I'm happy.
Okay, it's sunny there.
Oh, very. Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm kind of wearing the t-shirt instead of like the shirt that I was planning to wear. It's very
Okay,
warm.
okay. For you, just a quick introduction about who you are for if you ones that who don't know you. Jerry right now works as a consultant on its own company, Dergal Ltd. But before Jerry has worked for many company. He works in-house, he works in company, he works in agency. So substantially touch all the different experiences an SEO can have. If you, yeah, so just to start, and as a curiosity, if you should choose, where do you feel or felt better? As a consultant, as a working in company or working in agency? Or if they were fine in all three, what would you choose, the positive or the free position?
I mean, there's a couple of career highlights that I've got where I kind of felt like this is what I'm meant to do almost. I think when I kind of landed at Just Eat, I was like, this is so cool. I suddenly working in a company where I say, can we just do this? And there's a team there. And sometimes they'll tell me no, sometimes they'll tell me not possible, or sometimes they'll tell me, we can't do it for 6 months or something. But a lot of the time, it's like if I can put together a business plan, if I can get it sort of sorted out, then I can get it done. And I've been really lucky that, companies like Just Eat, and I worked for a Norwegian supermarket for about 18 months as well. And that was amazing as well. Again, I was really lucky. The team was a growth team that just basically wanted to do and basically improve everything. So I've been really lucky with those two particular roles. One of the things I would say is that I probably learned everything agency side. So to learn to study working in an agency means that you get to kind of learn on everybody's different websites from lots of other passionate SEO digital marketers. And I started off in an agency called Razorfish at one point, and the amount that I learned from people around me, not just on how to, but the commercial side of it, how to present, how to kind of upscale, how to, you know we I was working on charities, banks, and huge clients when I was very young at the time, at least mentally.
And now you are a consultant like me. And I mean, I think to be consultant, maybe it's if you are not going to create your own agency, if you are not going to be the director of a big agency or the head of growth in a big company, maybe consultancy is the natural evolution for someone with years of experience. So yes, I tend to agree with you because I think that especially for the younger generation, the ideal is go to work in agency, no matter the dimension of the agency, with good people inside, obviously. As it was, we are used to say in Italy, it's like doing like spending 1 2 year in the army to make our muscles and obtain experiences in order to then grow and start eventually thinking of creating your own consultancies or moving in-house. That is surely, I think, the kind of recommendation I would do. Even if I didn't do that, but it was different time. Were better agency when we started my meet.
Yeah.
So let's go talking about search. It's a common topic in all the search session conversation to discuss about changes we are living. Are you living on yourself these very fast changes that we are living in the past 2 years? I mean, it seems many years, but it's substantially only 2 years that 2 3 years that Google explored with all these features. For instance, Google Merchant invading all the transactional aspect of a search, or we are really talking a lot about AI overview, but AI overview, I mean, last year was an experiment, and all of a sudden it's here. And OpenAI, ChatGPT, it's only 2 years that it's here.
Hmm.
We, So how do you live? How you experiencing all these big changes happening in a very short frame of time?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is keeping up on top of everything and experimenting with it and doing it in a way that is actually client friendly. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with being kind of a little bit behind the curve as long as you're not so far behind the curve that you're kind of out of touch. I mean, I've always been kind of an experimenter. I've always been somebody that kind of goes, hey, we can hack it on using Google Tag Manager. We can do something like use the cloud to kind of inject something here. We can do all sorts of kind of fun things. But suddenly, this whole AI thing, it's amazing. But honestly, I am subscribed to a Ada's newsletter. I follow everybody I know who really knows what they're talking about on what used to be called Twitter and various other kind of platforms, just to kind of try and stay on top of it all. But every time I blink, I see somebody doing something far more amazing, far more advanced. And I've seen so many presentations where I'm like, wow, that is so cool. So, for me, I think there's two sides of it. One, I am using it extensively. 9 times out of 10, just to write a bit of code. I hate the expression vibe coding, but I want to kind of do something in Google Tag Manager to inject something into a website to kind of fix a problem with Google Merchant Center. And 10 seconds later, it spat out some really good JavaScript, and I can then rewrite it slightly myself just to make sure it's doing what I really want it to do. So yeah, I'm using AI to do so many different things. Content creation. One of the things I love, for instance, is creating podcasts out of articles that I need to read. So as when I'm driving, the Google Studio creates a podcast for me, and it will kind of let me just listen to that as I'm driving down the road. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are happening with AI right now. And yeah, basically, I think the future is amazing. As you say, we've only been in this for about 18 to 24 months. I remember I did a podcast for Yoast, and Jono and I were saying this is going to be really exciting in the future. And I think a few months later, it hit far harder and far faster than either of us were expecting. We basically said it will be great in the future for some things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And what your gut is suggesting about this is going to be great in the future and that maybe it's going to come faster.
Yeah, I see. I'm one of those people that's perpetually optimistic. I always think this technology will hit and it'll be great. Again, I'm always surprised by just how bad things like Google Voices. Like, I will ask it to do something really simple in a conversational way, and it kind of says, "Oh no, I don't understand it." I will ask it to turn on a light, and it's trying to play a song on Spotify instead, and it will do some weird things. So I'm kind of expecting AI to be better than it is, faster than it is. And I'm really looking forward to things like the Meta AI and some of the other kind of AI integrations that are coming out, especially with vision. I think there's kind of a lot of exciting stuff outside of the world of search. But already I will be using like Google's Google Lens to kind of go, I'll snap something and kind of go, what is this? What type of plant is this? And it'll give me a lot of the answers very quickly. It's very impressive.
Yes, totally. And I'm a very old fan of Google Lens, and we were talking about it a few years ago and been pushing a lot of talks of attention on visual search because I think it always has been something neglected by SEO, by our profession. And instead, all the SERPs are reminding us how much important is the visual aspect of search.
Yeah.
And yes, and now I think, for instance, there are interesting experiments in AI mode. I don't know if you tested it. Now, as AI mode, you can use substantially lens on AI mode, and so doing really strong conversation mixing, a visual input and then voice because you can talk and then text, and it's interesting. And I think that is going to be the kind of search we are going to experiment, not just in a beta version. And I believe that, yes, I think that all these conversational search substantially is something that maybe Google tried with Google Assistant, but still had not the technology to do it well. I remember, and actually still with the Google Assistant interface, or how you call it, the one when you put in I don't remember the name of a product, of Google product, the one with the screen that you talk with it. It's Google Assistant substantially, and it's still awful. And let's say when they finally input with Gemini in order to do the things also with the software, because then it will recognize finally my voice because I have a really weird accent because I'm Italian. And when I speak in Italian to Google Assistant, is hearing my Spanish accent because after 20 years, I have a Spanish accent. When I speak in Italian, is the contrary. I don't tell you when I try to speak in English. So it's really messed up. So yes, I think that Google was already testing that kind of possibilities that conversational search has, but now can do it. I think what do you think about this?
I think so. My experiences with Google, and I've kind of had some strange experiences working closely with Google, is that there's about 20 teams who aren't necessarily speaking to each other. So, for instance, when Gemini first came out, and they said we've replaced all of your Google Assistant with Gemini, and I'm like, fantastic. And then I'll kind of sit there, I'll get into the car, and I'll be, right, please, can you play something on Spotify? And, oh, I can't do that yet. I'm just a AI assistant. I can't actually operate Spotify. And I'm like, but you could do 6 months ago. It wouldn't have switched on and off my lights. And when it did it, it was clunky. And so I feel like Google has this lack of kind of, retrospective. What are people using it for today? What are people wanting it for? And I personally believe that nearly everybody's using their Google voice assistants and similar things to do core basics like play some music on Spotify when they're in the car, navigate to something. And I think Google has to make sure that they're kind of making sure that the basic UK use cases of everything that they do, everything that they touch kind of carries on through. And I'm kind of looking at things like the Meta glasses that like the Facebook company Meta have just kind of come out with. These ones where they've got the camera on them and they can take photographs and do all sorts of things. I'm looking at this sort of technology thinking, this is brilliant, but what would I actually functionally use it for day to day? And when I speak to people who kind of love them and they think they're brilliant, I'm almost like, but none of that stuff is exactly what I would use it for. I would love it if it will kind of connect up and I can look at something and say, I want to buy this. Where can I buy it? And then it will list it for me and it will find it for me later on, which Google Lens is doing very well now, actually. So yeah, Google is kind of going down that route, but that's exactly what Google's always done. The only thing is, as soon as you take a photograph of something and try and find it, they'll figure out how to monetize it and send you an advert for it.
Well, Lens could be easily monetized in terms of a showrooming, which is when you go into a physical shop and start doing photographs in order to search the product. In fact, I don't know if this happened also in the UK, but I remember that a few shops here in Spain were asking people to not make photographs of the product, but product in themselves, because they know that people were doing photographs and then searching on Google for where to buy it online. And that is quite easy to monetize. I mean, you're going to receive an image search results with products, and products is the prototype of merchant, because you click and go directly on the product page, link a website, and you don't have to pass through any category.
Yeah.
So it is, and you know that Google also push shopping on this Google image search. So in that sense, it's monetized. Yes, I think the problem, because I know you are really fan of, as we can say, of everything AR and VR, but I think that it's maybe the problem in this kind of environments is that what is the correct device, which is the most comfortable for the person to, especially in the case of augmented reality, to experiment and start using, not just as a game, the augmented reality.
I mean, the Meta Quest now is exceptionally powerful. It's like 300 quid. It's like, say, 400 euros for a top end device that will let you do mixed reality. I mean, yes, it will do gaming, but one of the things I was chatting to a friend of mine about is the fact that I can go and have an experience where I'm chatting to somebody and it'll allow me to learn another language. It'll let me learn Italian, it'll let me learn French or Spanish or something, almost in a kind of studio type environment. It'll let me do some study, learning. It'll let me do just look around the world. I can kind of visit Prague. I can visit Germany. I can visit anywhere beforehand. Interactive meetings should be brilliant. But I do feel like nobody's quite there yet. And despite the fact that there are so many of these devices around everybody's home, nobody's really kind of gone, well, okay, other than gaming, what is the real use case for it? There's some people who I've spoken to quite regularly who are actually doing a lot of work in it. They're using it as a monitor. They're using it as big screens to kind of go, hey, instead of using my monitor, I can use 4 or 5 big screens to kind of do video editing, to do of a similar technology. But I personally have tried it. It's not been something that I've been kind of enjoying doing. So I find it's too heavy, it's too clunky, it's not quite there yet. But, if in the future, I do think it will be. It'll be a pair of glasses that has just an extra screen. I've got a pair of sunglasses where I can plug them into my laptop and it'll give me a virtual screen behind it. And the advantage with this is the amount of times when I'm traveling and I'm like, I really need to work on a spreadsheet, but, I don't want anybody else seeing exactly what I'm working on. And it'll give me the ability to have like a privacy screen like that. So there's a lot of cool technology around. I'm going to be honest, I use those glasses mainly when I fly, and it gives me like the ability to sit and pretend that I'm in a massive cinema rather than kind of cramped into an EasyJet flight. But, I also do find that, the technology there, we are that first generation again, like we were talking about with AI and ChatGPT and everything. The speed at which things are changing is truly incredible. LlamaCon, which is a weird thing for Meta to kind of call it. I'm not really sure why they call it that, but basically LlamaCon is on at the moment, and they're sort of talking about new technologies, AI, integration with Xbox, Microsoft, and all of this other technology. So I think that, the more people have one in their home for play, the more people will be able to kind of go, oh, what else can I do with it? And I'm just hoping that people do find additional uses for it. I'm not a huge fan of the Apple one, purely and simply because the price point is off-putting. And if people buy it and they don't use it and they kind of go, well, it was great for about 10 minutes. Now what am I going to do with it? That's the question. But, my feeling is there's going to be a lot of uses for it. For instance, like if I'm buying a house, I can virtually walk around it, and so many houses have got that. If I want to kind of navigate or learn a new skill, there's lots of ways I can do it. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, mine is mainly used for gaming at the moment.
Yeah, yes, but I mean, if we want to be honest, all the biggest technology advancement, we think about the internet itself. Usually, we're about two things:
Yep.
gaming and porn. These
Yep.
were the classic two.
I was things. There's military as well. Military drove the
Well, yeah, yes, but if I was to thinking in, let's say,
adult industry.
consumer, public, they usually are you know, the the point of the iceberg where starting everything.
No, you're
Also
right.
for the internet, also for the biggest type of technology. For instance, the same image, AI image generation. It was also they needed to put a strong moderation in things like Midjourney because the first thing people were doing were obviously R-rated image. So, and for instance, for the deepfake, so video AI-based video generation, who started all this? You know,
I mean, we're not going to talk politics, but how often have you watched a video of Trump saying something and you're like, is it fake or is it real? And you just don't.
yes,
It's great. I mean, Trump says the most outrageous things, and you find out that actually almost nothing is fake. It's all real.
yes, I know. Let's try to imagine a future where finally the hardware problem of VR, of virtual reality, has been resolved. What kind of future could be? Because it's coming to my mind, oh, Ready Player One, the
Yeah.
movie and the book. Where what kind of future could be? The one of a mega corporation where practically your vision of VR is occupied by banners and ads, some sort of 3D version of Google right now, or something maybe too utopistic, like the vision in the novel. I know it's a novel, but what kind of, and how could search? So businesses could
We
use.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we are 100% going to be using head-up glasses. I mean, Google have just released or are releasing at the moment like an Android for glasses. So basically, I'll be walking down the road with my glasses on, and I'll be able to say, "Hey, find me a pub. I want to get a coffee. Where's the nearest garage?" Anything that you're looking for in the real world, it'll kind of go, "Oh, it's down here on the left." And Google will be able to sell that in the advance. And at dinner time, you'll be walking down the road and you'll get a little pop-up which says, "Do you fancy a pizza? It's down here on the left." And so it is terrifying just how subtly Google could monetize it all. And I'm hoping they do it subtly and they don't do it quite as badly as they're doing Google ads on SERP results at the moment. So, I mean, if I search for something, I don't want 20 ads. I want, an ad or two and the rest of it to be organic. So I'm kind of hoping that when Google kind of hits, they've created the AR version of Google Maps when I'm driving down the road, I won't find that there's pop-ups every 2 seconds as I'm kind of driving past KFC or something. And it's so, I don't mind a little bit of marketing. I don't mind a bit of advertising, but I'm terrified that if I wear Google glasses, that's all it will be. But, I think that we are so used to the form factor of the mobile phone, which is like, about 6 inches or however big it is. And, we're kind of very much used to that kind of version. But, if we have the opportunity that when somebody sends us a TikTok or a YouTube video or something, we can watch it in almost a cinema experience because of the glasses that we've got in our pockets. I think we're going to be using glasses, voice, and some other interactivity, and maybe a watch or something, far more than we are using it at the moment. I actually had a bet with a gentleman called Nick that, very soon e-commerce is going to be taken over by VR. If I wanted to go and buy a suit, if I wanted to go buy some amazing clothes or wanted to go buy something, there would be some kind of e-commerce experience, but it still hasn't happened yet. I still haven't seen a great VR e-commerce experience yet.
Surely that is something that should be studied and experimented with by big companies. I'm thinking, that something like this. Surely in the long run,
Yeah.
in the long term, it's even cheaper than creating some other kind of experiments like intelligent mirrors where you substantially putting yourself doing so and it's showing you as you were wearing the dress for real. And but I also think that probably it's there where companies should work in order to create an integration. And maybe AI is going to make these things easier than it was just a couple of years ago. And I think that we are still in that moment where we are still somehow in a second version of beta of what AI can do.
Mm-hmm.
So not really super advanced. Maybe all this frenzy about agentic AI, so creating agents, so that when this technology of AI agent, which is 6 months old, substantially, is going to be a little more mature, maybe we are going to see a combination and a synergy between AR, normal search, in-store experience, and so on, making substantially connecting, maybe using how you call these kind of things that you put in on the roof of a shop in order to send signals that are popping on your phone, etc. So combining all this technology that are already existing with the power that AI agent can have, maybe this kind of situation can be interesting coming. And
Yeah.
talking about AR, do you think that maybe AR is for a marketer and for search is going to be especially interesting apart from this sort of e-commerce experience in store, also for local searches potentially?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I talked about at the conference recently was the fact that Apple phones now can take a augmented reality style video, basically a 3D video. So you can kind of take, instead of taking a normal video, you take a photograph. And this is designed to basically be only really viewable interactive on the Apple Vision thing, but it's also available on the Meta Quest thing. So already we can create 3D kind of experiences, like cinematic 3D experiences, like with depth and with other feelings. So if I've got an iPhone, of course I would be starting to take those more and more. And I think that people should be doing these as marketing for, if I'm a marketing experience for, all the TikTok influencers, I think they should also be trying to make sure they've got some three-dimensional videos for when people start to kind of have the TikTok of augmented reality. I don't know what it's going to be called. Maybe I should invent it, patent it, trademark it, create it. But basically, at some point, there will be people doing this because the technology will be coming out in the next 18 to 24 months. Samsung working with Google and Microsoft working with Facebook. There's all of this kind of happening. So short version is the fact that if I can create, a series of interactive videos and be first to the field, and also if it's kind of marketing my business, then I honestly do think that's something that I would be doing, particularly if I have a visually rich product or experience or luxury, those ones where if it's like, if I can turn around to somebody and say, experience this visually, come and experience it properly, that would work.
You cited already twice TikTok in our conversation. And obviously, I cannot not think about how the journey in terms of search has changed very fast in the
Mhm.
last years. Once it was a journey inside Google search, when almost immediately they saw missed by many experience of ranking and obtaining many clicks, a lot of organic traffic thanks to the ranking for a given keyword. So searching, click. Then Google start to expand the journey all over the ecosystem. So, okay, from one SERP to another SERP, but not only Google search, but moving from the SERP to YouTube, from YouTube to a news, again, coming back to search, going to Google Maps and so on. So the start of a zero-click
Yeah.
phenomenon. But then people start to understand that there are many surfaces where someone can search. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that the Reddit case, so people adding Reddit at the end of a query
Mm.
wasn't only because people were thinking, okay, Google is proposing me awful things. I don't trust him. So I want to see where in Reddit I can go.
Mhm.
So, and then TikTok, but especially the younger generation, start to use also as a sort of search engine for certain things. So how SEO, like the professionals of SEO, must, if they still have not done it, to look at these different surfaces outside of Google. Because now we should also add, obviously, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and all the LLM system. How would you? And I think that maybe also your client as a consultant are start to ask you this kind of question.
I wish. I think TikTok is incredibly impactful. You know, I'm off to Poland in a week's time, and I was chatting with the people to go to the EU Search Awards, and I was chatting basically, where we're going to go, what we're going to do, and I did chuck like crack out into TikTok and started scrolling through, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that's amazing. People find that they're kind of looking around it more. And what is kind of interesting is TikTok has kind of seen this and seen kind of how people are interacting and the physical locations and the physical products and things. And so every location is now tagged up, and you can click into the location. It'll bring all the information. It'll pull the information from Google, strangely enough. And, the information goes back and forth there. So already it's got reviews, already it's got all this kind of information. So my argument is almost like it's a discovery engine. If I'm looking for restaurants, a lot of the time, in fact, this is what I'm really bad at, is how often I will be doom scrolling TikTok at night and I'll go, wow, that looks like a great restaurant to go with my kids or my partner or somebody like that. And I'll be like, I've got to bookmark that. So then I'll go over to Google and I'll bookmark it on Google. And eventually, when next time I'm looking around that area, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I kind of bookmark that to go as a place I want to go. So, discovering new places is often very much done on TikTok. I learn about new products. I learn about new games for the VR. I learn about new kind of like basically, I'm even learning a lot about digital marketing through TikTok because people are sharing great little snippets. Chris Green is one of the people that I follow. He and I both follow coffee connoisseurs, and I'm learning how to make great coffee. And at the end of it, I'll be sitting there kind of going, right, I now need to spend £450 on great coffee gear. I don't, but I kind of try to buy it from AliExpress instead. So what I'm getting at is the way in which I discover products, the services, and everything is often as a result of something like TikTok rather than necessarily, Google search. It's kind of like I have an interest in something and therefore I can be marketed in a different way. And as you say, that journey, that messy journey, that works. It really does work effectively. And, as I kind of go around different systems, like I struggle with whether or not TikTok's just a social media or what we want to call it, a discovery engine for exactly that reason. I mean, I don't really post much to TikTok. I think I've posted about 3 or 4 funny videos and that's it. But I need to learn more about it because my clients need to be able to kind of be on it. And, getting over that initial barrier of, I don't really want to do a TikTok to, oh, we can market on TikTok and it's very effective is quite a challenge.
Yes, indeed it is. And I mean, I think that TikTok now doesn't have anymore the stigma of being, for kids application used by almost everybody. And this expansion of this dilution, liquidity of a journey surely is interesting. And it's, I think one of the most positive effect is work inside. It is oblige us as SEO who historically loved substantially to work in our own bubble, to open to other types of market. And I think that this is maybe where, because I mean, if you want to follow the searches in other platforms that are not formally searched, you have to know the searches. So you have to create a common ground with these people like social media marketers, or I don't know if it's email marketers and so on, in order to maintain a consistency between one strategy and the other.
One of my strong views is that I'm not an SEO in that okay. A large part of my job title is actually SEO, and it is my job title in many ways. However, one of the things that I've kind of always said for the past 10 years is a lot of what we do is kind of technical marketing. We're the people that will look at things from a user experience point of view. We'll look at things from a discovery. We will do things to make sharing better. I mean, there's something on a website called Open Graph where if you share a picture to Slack, or sorry, not picture, sorry, if you share a website to Slack, or if you share it to anywhere else, then it will kind of present the picture from the web page. And this is influenced by something called an Open Graph tag. It's a bit like a meta description or a title tag. And bearing in mind that this is really for shareability on social, you'd think it would be down to the social team. But a lot of the time, social team, it's not what they consider part of their job, or at least they don't really fully understand it. And so it's the SEO people. So we're doing things in SEO which aren't really SEO related in terms of the fact that this has no real impact on organic traffic. But it's something which is important because of the fact that we know shareability increases traffic. And, if it's shared and it's a big picture and increases.
Branded searches and so on.
hmm So I
Yeah.
think it's really important that we kind of consider ourselves to be more than just the SEO guy in the corner and rankings on Google. And we start to kind of understand the fact that if we're creating a TikTok account, we're the people who sort of say, hang on, before you do that, let's make sure that the URL of it is right. Make sure that all of those little core details of it are kind of done correctly. And when we link back to the website, we do it in such a way that the links are working to the right places. We should understand things like QR codes, NFCs. So basically, we're no longer just 10 blue links in the corner, but we are technical marketers. And I think that's really important.
Yes, totally agree. And I think also that technical marketing is a definition I also use because it can combine well the deep knowledge of the technical side of the work, but also the marketers, so the knowledge of how to promote
Yep.
the things that we need to promote, our website, our business, the client business, etc., etc., etc. And the only problem is the more messy is going to be the journey, then harder is going to measure it. So that is maybe the biggest problem we have is how to really measure the impact we have. Because sometimes, obviously, as a consultant, as well as me, at the end of the day, we must tell to the client really with data what has been our impact for them.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to argue with you, but what is really hard to explain to a client is we don't know. And basically, the fun one there, for instance, is or from TikTok, if they click through, they're in a different session, a different experience to like the Chrome browser. So suddenly you can't necessarily link up those journeys, or at least you can't link them up easily. And so, we do a great video on TikTok and thousands of people click through to kind of take a look at the product. And, we then can't figure out if they then came back and bought like a month or so or a week or days later, because we can't necessarily tie that click and that session up to somebody coming back in a different channel. And that's fun. And we need to be able to turn around to the client and say, yeah, we don't know. This is what we know is the fact that when we did this campaign, traffic increased over here, revenue increased over here. And so we can use correlation, which doesn't always mean causation, but we know that, there's enough for us to kind of have a good guess at where the data kind of lies. So short version, it's a challenge to turn around to clients and tell them we don't know the truth, but this is what we kind of know from the data that we have. And we have a lot of data. And the more that we do it, the more data we have, the more data that we have, the more that we can start to kind of go, when we do, this causes this and this happens. So do this and we'll get revenue. I mean, it's always a challenge basically to cut in marketing to kind of say, well, actually, this isn't working when we're struggling with what isn't working.
True. And yes, it's a struggle, but yes, the idea of using correlation, always with a disclaimer that correlation is not causation, can be a good alternative to simply say, I don't know. We cannot be certain, but we see this correlation between what we have planned with this action and these results. So, I mean, because it's easy when it comes to technical. You do something technical and you see if it's going well, if it's going bad, if it's going flat. So much that SEO testing is not a novelty anymore. Any at least unknowledgeable SEO doesn't use SEO testing tools for that. But yes, when it comes to the marketing side of our work, then the correlation is a really great idea. So let's go to the end of our conversation. I will ask you a few questions where you should ideally answer fast without thinking. Simple question, not really complicated. But to know you better as Gerry White, the person when is not using the PC for work. So let's start. I'm going to put as it was a policeman doing the interrogatory. No, I'm joking. This the okay. So you were talking about the coffee. So it's curious one. I'm Italian.
Yeah.
What is the type of coffee you like the most?
Okay, so what I tend to drink if I get the option is a cortado, which is basically a short latte. I could be wrong there, but basically cortado is my favorite. It's basically a strong espresso with a tiny drop of milk.
Yes. It's that. It's what we call cortado in Spanish, but in Italian would be the latte macchiato, il caffè macchiato. In Italy, if you go to Italy, there is a trick. If you say caffè macchiato, it's the espresso with a short, just a little bit of milk. If you invert the words in this latte macchiato, it's the latte, the classic latte that every coffee shop offer you and serves you.
I
And
have been getting into arguments with Italians about coffee, just purely for fun.
yes, and let's not start talking about the different type of paella here in Valencia. So another question. What is the sound you like the most to hear?
The sound I most like to hear? Oh, well, at the moment I can hear my kids laughing in the other room, and that is a great sound normally, but I sort of quietly message them twice, kind of going, "Shut up." But, I don't know what they're giggling about, and it almost sounds like trouble, but I do love that sound.
I love it too. Sometimes it's too loud, but I love it. And instead, what is the thing that almost irrationally drive you crazy when it happens?
Do you know what I really hate is how people get off planes? Like, everybody is in such a rush, and it's so inefficient, and it's almost like, do you know what? If you just got your stuff, got ready, and left, rather than, I don't know, it's almost like there's a chaos, and people try to fight to get off the plane 10 seconds quicker, and it causes, like, tailbacks. It's like that kind of it's a weird thing where there's a lack of efficiency of it. And I will kind of be a little bit annoyed at somebody just, and I'm sitting there kind of going, I want to get off. I want to go to my hotel. I want to go and go have a cortado or whatever it is. And basically, I'm very much looking forward to just relaxing. But yeah, that's my one pet hate. And, I don't know why they're rushing off the plane quite as fast as they are and why
We can say that egoistical irrationalities is what makes you. And I don't know, do you read a lot?
Yeah, I used to. I don't read as much as I'd like to, but I do read quite a bit. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks recently, if I'm honest, while I've been driving.
Oh yeah, yes. I started to do it too in quite recently, even if I prefer podcast for when I drive. But so let's talk about no books. What kind of books you like the most? Or what is the book that you read and that you maybe have read more than once, that sometimes you return to open just to read the passage?
Fictional books. Asimov is probably what I've read a lot of recently. I read all of the books when I was a kid, so I've got a sort of like a stack of them over there at the moment. And I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it's great to kind of reread like those stories, and it's surprising how they kind of change somehow differently. And if you know anything about Isaac Asimov, he actually predicted a lot of the AI future and a lot of the things that kind of almost happening today in a very strange prophetic way hundreds of years, well, not hundreds of years ago, but quite a long time ago. Like he talks about robotics, he talks about everything. And, his before, robots were really a thing. So it's fascinating. The film I, Robot was based on one of his books.
What is this question? What is a place on earth that you really like and visiting when you visited it? It can be maybe just around the corner, not necessarily something exotic like saying the Himalaya.
I like culture more than anything else, but I like relaxed culture. So I mean, one of the cities that I visited, and I basically plan to do a conference there. I run a conference called Take It Offline, and I plan to kind of go back there and do one there, was Bucharest. And part of me is kind of going, I could basically move to Bucharest if it wasn't for those pesky kids. I think that basically that's the city where I kind of live quite happily and, great food, great culture, great wine. What else do you need?
Yes, what I also need. Yes, it's maybe we sometimes try to overcomplicate our life. And maybe life could be happier if we were, yes, less pretentious sometimes. Gerry, it's been a real pleasure to have this conversation with you. And yes, to know your ideas about VR, AR, these new surfaces, TikTok. And I'm glad that with you, we started to talk also about this. Thank you.
Okay.
And for all of you, dear watchers and listeners, just ask you just a little thing, very fast. Click on subscribe and ring on the bell so you will be advised and notified when a new episode of a session is going to come. Thank you.